morning. God's peace to you all again. This particular portion of the Catechism is really rather important. And believe it or not, who was at Bob's funeral yesterday? I didn't see all. Okay. I spoke about perfection, right? I spoke about perfection. And one of the things that seminarians are trained in is to see the totality of the doctrine of the church. So even if they're wrong, they could be right if they don't go too far from the confessions. And this is part of our confessions. Yesterday was that. The text, Revelation 21, was about, in fact, the perfection of heaven, the perfection of what awaits us in paradise, right? But also it has to deal with Bob and his family and us and everybody, and how that all ties into being is it never really said perfection in the text, did it not? It never said. It said we're making a new heavens and a new earth, and the old earth will pass away and the old heaven will pass away. There'll be no more pain. Well, that was perfection, and that's where the doctrine that helps us. It was a good tie-in to that, and I wanted to share that with you. So heading number 43. No, 42, excuse me, 42. This is very important so that you all know, so that there's no question about it in your mind. Who alone has kept the law of God perfectly? Only Jesus Christ. Now, one of the problems, is some denominations say that once you are baptized and reborn again, you're holy and sanctified. I see them at the liquor store just like me, you know what I'm saying? The only difference is they don't talk to anybody in the liquor store. I go in there and I go, hey, how are you, right? The point is that we need to be we need to understand the fact that even when the old Adam dies in our baptism and the new Adam rises again, okay? It's a constant push, and it's a constant daily fight against the world, the devil, and our flesh. Perfection is not in our cards until where Bob is at, if I may say so, where Bob is, he's in heaven. He is enjoying complete perfection. Perfection that he is himself, perfection that his world is now, perfection in who we are. Chances are, folks, and this is going to tie into the sermon, chances are usually we are inundated with other examples or other understanding or other people's understanding of perfection, right? If any of you have ever had an overbearing mother or father, all right, I didn't. My father knew I was imperfect. My father knew he was imperfect. My mother, forget about it. She's just out of the, not even close to perfect. I mean that you know. So perfection, I have never been cursed with perfectionism. I got other problems. But the truth of the matter is that many times I think of employers and employees. They want things just the way they want. And if they don't get them that way, then the whole thing is caboodle. The military is very much involved in this. They want you to, you know, I either shot weapons in the military or I painted. There was never anything, there was nothing, either I was shooting guns or I was painting. Well, the painting part of it, they wanted it absolutely perfect. Fort Benning, Georgia must have been painted, I would say, about 10,000 times since Fort Benning was established. But in any case, only Jesus, and this has to be understood, for those of you who are perfectionists, for those of you who expect perfection of others or of yourself. How many of you, I'm not even talking about those that expect perfection from us. I'm talking about, and there's a few of you, I know, there's a few of you, I'm not going to mention any names, there's a few of you that expect complete perfection of yourselves. Well, folks, I hate to tell you that. First of all, that ain't happening. It just ain't happening. And why do I know that? Because there's only one person who was completely perfect, and that was Jesus Christ. When he did carpentry, it was perfect. When he was a son, he did it perfectly. You know, all I could think of is when Mary would call, Jesus, Jesus. Yes, Mom. I don't think he was that, but he was perfect in that way. We have to guard against this because we are in an age of self-righteousness, and we're also in the age of perfectionism because the two go hand in hand, right? Let me give you an example. On TV today, we don't even have to watch, excuse me, but we don't have to watch Playboy or anything like that. Just watch TV. They're all young, they're all beautiful, they're all thin. Tell me that there's one fat, ugly guy that's on the TV today. No, they didn't invite me on. Now the point is that there's this image that we all have to be young, beautiful, wealthy, articulate, intelligent. It doesn't happen, folks. Some people are not that intelligent, but they can do things that I could never dream of. You know, fix a car, you know, work a lathe, you know, those things that they, I don't know. You give me a screwdriver and I'm dangerous. I have the cleanest tools in all the world. I keep them so that when the workmen come, if they need a screwdriver, I say, go in there. There's a brand new screwdriver right in there for you. Look at that hammer. That's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah, that's nice. Okay. I know my limitations. I know what I can do and what I can't do. And also with you folks, if you're being inundated by this perfection on TV, perfection in our workplace, perfection in our families, the self-righteousness and the perfection, wouldn't one think that's why we're always stressed? Could that be why we're always stressed? Could it be that I stress you out because I have my understanding of perfection and you go over there? It's sort of like, you remember the husband comes home, kicks the wife kicks the dog is kicked by the kid, and it's a continuous, same thing. I'm self-righteous. I have an understanding of perfection. You're not perfect enough. You turn around and you're self-righteous and you say, and all Christians should say, not me, but him. Not me, but him. And there our self-righteousness melts away, our understanding of perfection for others and for ourselves melt away, and what happens, folks? And this will get in the sermon. Joy. Now, there are people and things and places that will try to rob you of your joy. And you have to recoup from that. I realize that. You need time to say, okay, I'm not perfect, they're not perfect, they're this, they're that, I'm that, I'm this. Okay. And it seems as though we have to do that more and more, right? Okay? All right. But I want you to know this. Only Christ Jesus was perfect. Not Methodist, not Baptist, not Lutherans, not Buddhists, not Jews, Muslims, the secular right, the secular left. Only Christ was perfect. That is why we're here. That is why we as Christians don't worship me or worship the church or worship the building, but worship Christ Jesus. Okay? Think about that, folks. I wanted to share that with you as we move along. Let's see. Now I lost my place. See, I can't be perfect. Not even close to it. I'm too much of a, here we go. Number 43. What's Christ's perfect keeping of the law benefit us? All right, now we get to what this means, really. Since Christ was a substitute before God, our Savior's perfect keeping of the law is part of his saving work for us. And because of him, we are considered righteous before God. Now, if we are considered righteous before God, who cares if we're not righteous before other people? Think about it, folks. If God the Father is sitting up in heaven somewhere, if he even sits, you know, he's got a real workload, you know what I'm saying? But if in fact God is sitting in heaven and he sees DeRosa there, DeRosa struggling with his sugar, his weight, blah, 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 blah. And he looks to his son, and his son says to him, like God the Father said to him, "This is my son, whom I am well pleased." Then God the Father says, okay, if he's good enough for you, he's good enough for me. And if we are right before the throne of God, does that not help us with our stress? With the way things happen in the world? The way things happen within relationships? If we are right with God, then you fear not. Fear not, little children, because you are right with God. Therefore, since we are right with God, we can call upon our dear Father in heaven as dear children. It's a beautiful message, but it's always drawn to make self-righteousness and works righteousness. All right? I work best, and I'm going to say this to all of you, I don't know, some people like the law and they work best. You know, I'll give you an example. Some people will want a, what do you call it? What do you call those guys? The guys that help you lose weight, and personal trainers. Some people like to, what they do basically is they pay them enormous amounts of money to be drill sergeants. And they get in your face and they say, I don't want to hear it. Which is the law, right? They don't want to hear it. You do 10 push-ups and you do them right now and you're doing well. Did you eat any fat grams? Yes, I did. Don't do that anymore. You shouldn't do that anymore. That's the law. I personally work best, and some of you work best with, but you always need the gospel. I don't care what you tell me. You always need the gospel. I get a personal trainer. I go over there and he says to me, so did you have any French fries? Yeah, I had like 20 of them. All right, next time do just 10. Okay, boss. You know what I'm saying? And that's the gospel. That's the gospel motivating us. And the other thing is the law motivates, but it only motivates temporarily. To give you an example, you tell a child, you do this, and you're going to get a comeuppance. Well, that might give them a little teaching, you know, what is it, come to Jesus meeting? It teaches them. But it only stops them for a moment. In the long run, the lesson has to be learned by the gospel. So in one breath, you get your comeuppance, but in another breath, you want to also share with that child that you love them, and this is why we do what we do, right? And that friction, that paradox, that contradiction, what seems like a contradiction, is in reality not at all a contradiction. One of the reasons why we have so much problems with our kids today is we either do too much of this, where we bolt them in the face, right? Or we yell at them. That's really going to help, right? We're going to yell at them. You know, you got to make it stern, to the point. You do that, Johnny, and you know what's going to happen. That's it. That's all you need to do. And if they don't, you get them home and you whip the tushy. But also, we have the other side where the kids, oh, Johnny would never do that. Johnny couldn't, oh, he couldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. He's a good boy. Well, he took a stick and poked your son's eye out. Well, what do you think about that? Well, he must have ran right into that stick. My son would never do that. Now, folks, those two extremes is one of the things that's majorly wrong with our society. The armed forces, by the way, have a retention rate now that no one really knows that you're not supposed to do this. I remember the first day I was in the Army, honest to goodness, I'll tell you a little example. First day I was in the Army, there was a little Spanish kid, he was about that tall. And they told us, we got off the cattle cars, they told us, do not go to the PX, do not move, do not go anywhere, do stay right where you are, like right now. You know what this kid did? He was in the mood for a candy bar. So he went to the PX and he got caught. They put him on, how many of you are in the military, remember those big things that they used to stand on, these big like stages or whatever? They put this poor kid on a stage and they made him eat the entire candy bar and wrapper. And the whole time that he was doing this, there was 3 drill sergeants yelling at him from this point, and that point. The kid cried so much, he had a nervous breakdown in front of all of us. Now, that would be illegal today. I know it would be illegal. In the early 70s, it wasn't illegal. We don't want to do that to our children. On the other hand, we need to know that we need our children to know, and we need to know, that there are certain things that we do and we don't do, and these are the parameters, but there's no parameters anymore. So anyway.
That's why kids aren't in church today, because they're not made to listen.
Yeah, and they're given a choice. They're given a choice. Now, let me ask you something. You got cartoons on TV, you got a bag of Doritos and your mother says to you, Johnny, you want to go to church?
You don't say you want to go, you say get your butt up and get ready.
Well then, okay, all right, you stay here, and if the first thing you do is you turn on the TV and get the Doritos. I mean, come on. We weren't born yesterday, folks, all right? Anyway. Okay, I did that. Let's just go over that Galatians 4:4-5 reading. When the fullness of time had come, God sent forth His Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, so that we might receive adoption as sons and daughters, if you will. Now, if God has adopted me and you as his child. That's what Christianity is about. We receive all of the gifts and the inheritance and all the things that are and belong to God, except his divinity, of course. Although there is some, by the way, now, there's a rise of Gnosticism in our country, and that's what's becoming now, is that we, when we die, become gods. Which, by the way, comes from our understanding of perfection. If perfection is very subjective, and I'm perfect now, can you imagine when I die and I get reincarnated, or I get whatever, I go to Spook City or whatever it is, I'm going to be even better, I'm going to be divine. The ultimate in ego, folks. Anyway, I want to say one more thing and then we're going to close. No, I'm going to save that for later. Save that for later. It's something I learned, I hope I don't forget it, that I wanted to share with you. It has to do with technology. Maybe I'll even preach on it. Let's bow our heads and say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom,